I used to believe that if you worked hard, stayed loyal, and delivered results, the right people would notice. That belief died slowly, but definitively, during my third year at Nexera Tech. I was a senior product designer in name, but my role often bled into strategy, UI/UX, and even early-stage product planning. I wasn't part of leadership, but I was the guy everyone came to when they needed something that actually worked. A smoother flow. A feature enhancement. A problem no one else could untangle. I didn't mind. I loved building things that made users' lives easier. But recognition? That was always just out of reach. The company was in a weird place. We weren't small anymore, but not big enough to have proper processes. Management was tight-knit, filled with friends who'd been there since the startup days. And if you weren't part of that original circle? Well, good luck getting heard. Still, I held on. I figured quality would win out eventually. So when our CEO announced a company-wide innovation challenge, where employees could pitch new ideas that might shape the company's future direction, I saw my opening. For weeks, I poured everything into my concept. I wasn't just pitching a feature, I was presenting a new product line. Something completely missing in the current market, an AI-driven analytics suite that not only tracked user behavior, but predicted churn, upsells, and engagement spikes with eerie precision. It could integrate with our existing platform. It could become our new flagship. When the day came to pitch, I was nervous, not because I didn't believe in it, but because I did. Too much. The room was packed. Brad, my manager, sat in the back with that neutral, "I'm barely listening" face. But I kept my eyes on the C-suite, the CTO, the VP of engineering, even the CEO popped in. I laid it all out. The problem. The opportunity. The prototype. The projected revenue growth if we captured just 5% of the market. And the tech? It was feasible. Scalable. Elegant. When I wrapped up, there was silence. Then someone asked a question. Then another. Pretty soon, half the room was leaning forward. I walked out buzzing. I'd done it. Or so I thought. A week passed. No word. Then two. When I casually brought it up to Brad, he blinked and said, "Oh yeah? That. I think upper management wants to keep things simple right now. We don't have bandwidth for moonshot stuff." Moonshot? I asked if I could get feedback. He said there wasn't any. I asked if the CTO had commented. Brad said, "Not really," and changed the subject. Something didn't feel right. The silence wasn't just apathy, it was calculated. A few days later, I overheard one of the interns mention that my presentation video had been taken down from the internal system. Archived. Unlisted. Buried. That was the first time I felt something shift. Not anger. Not yet. But clarity. I wasn't getting ignored because I wasn't good enough. I was getting buried because someone didn't want me rising any higher. The real sting didn't come from being ignored. It came from what followed, the annual performance reviews. At Nexera, reviews were a mixed bag. Some people got vague, glowing praise that led to real raises. Others got constructive feedback that translated to nothing. I'd always landed somewhere in the middle. Solid, dependable, a team player. Never the superstar, never the slacker. But this time, I knew I had something more. I'd carried 2 major feature releases on my back this year, mentored a junior hire who'd just made full-time, and I was the only person in our division who had hit every single sprint deadline, while volunteering for stretch projects. And of course, there was the AI project I pitched, the one that turned heads before it disappeared into the void. So I walked into that meeting with Brad feeling, for once, like I could ask for what I was worth. I'd even prepared a little. A short slide deck outlining my accomplishments. Bullet points. Data. Metrics. I was ready to make my case like a professional. Brad didn't even let me open it. He sat behind his laptop with a bored look, clicking through tabs while mumbling. "So, yeah, overall a good year. Nothing too surprising." I blinked. "Sorry? Can we go over the actual performance review? He turned his screen around and showed me a form. The top was filled with meets expectations checkboxes. No. Exceeds. No written comments. Just a pre-filled template with my name on it. I see, I said slowly, trying not to show my disappointment. So, in terms of growth? Compensation? Brad cleared his throat. Yes, so unfortunately, the company's doing some budget adjustments. Raises are limited this year. But keep doing what you're doing and maybe we can revisit it next cycle. I stared at him. You mean after I just pitched the only original product idea this team's seen in 2 years? He looked mildly annoyed. Look, the AI thing was a fun idea, but it's not part of our current roadmap. And frankly, it was a bit outside your role. Product strategy is handled by leadership. My heart dropped. That felt personal. Not just dismissive, but strategic. You said you passed my pitch up the chain? He avoided eye contact. It got reviewed. Didn't fit the direction. That's it. That was it. No recognition. No raise. No interest in the work I poured myself into for weeks. For a brief moment, I almost believed maybe I had overreached. Maybe it was too much. But then I remembered the faces in that pitch room. The way the CTO nodded. The questions from the senior engineer. The way our CEO sat forward in his chair. They weren't uninterested. They were impressed. Someone had blocked it. And there was only one person with the power and motive to do that before it got any higher. Brad. I thanked him and left the room. No anger. No scene. But that night, as I sat at my kitchen table replaying the meeting in my head, something in me hardened. If they didn't want my ideas, fine. But someone else might. And they'd be willing to pay for them. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the dim glow of my laptop, reopening the original deck I'd made for the AI Analytics suite. Every slide still looked solid. The data still made sense. The potential still screamed off the screen. I had worked too hard, thought too far ahead, to let it die in a forgotten folder on a shared server. I knew I had to be smart. If I was going to walk this path, I needed to be calculated, not reckless. No bragging. No social media hints. No burning bridges, not yet. So I created a burner Gmail account. Then I rewrote my pitch deck, stripping away any obvious Nexera branding or references. I renamed the project PredictX and framed it as an early-stage concept developed by an anonymous industry insider. I added a watermark on every slide. Confidential, shared for evaluation only. Then I compiled a list of the 3 biggest competitors in our space, companies that had the funding, talent, and hunger to move fast. The kinds of firms that Nexera used to mock but now quietly feared. Each email had a simple subject line. Industry-ready AI innovation, exclusive opportunity. And in the body, I'm reaching out anonymously with a project proposal that could offer your company a competitive edge in predictive analytics. This is not vaporware. I have a working prototype, proven market projections, and an implementation roadmap. I am seeking a strategic partner, not funding. I want a seat at the table. If this interests you, reply with an NDA. I will disclose full details after signature. I hit send. Then I waited. 2 days of silence. Then, on the 3rd morning, I got 2 replies. One was a generic, "We don't accept unsolicited proposals," auto-response. The other was from a VP of product at a firm called Veriton, a mid-sized company that had been aggressively hiring and had just landed a $40 million Series C. His reply was short but sharp. "We're intrigued. Let's talk. NDA attached." I reviewed the document. It was solid. They weren't playing games. I signed, sent it back, and within a few hours, we were on a video call. The VP's name was Jonah. Late 30s, sharp eyes, no nonsense. The kind of guy who didn't waste time on fluff. I walked him through my pitch as cleanly as I could without revealing who I was. He interrupted once, to ask a technical question that showed he got it. then again to ask if I had more detailed documentation. I had it all. Code snippets, flow diagrams, even a user demo from my prototype build. "This is strong," he said after 20 minutes. "Really strong." Then came the million-dollar question. "Who are you?" I hesitated. Then I told him the truth, mostly. "I'm currently employed at a company that had the chance to build this. They passed. I'm not under any IP contract on this project. I built it independently, on personal time, outside of work infrastructure." That was technically true. I had been so excited about it back then, I worked most of it at home, on my own setup. And Brad never even asked for follow-ups, let alone tried to claim it. Jonah nodded. "We've been wanting to move into this space, but haven't had the right entry point. If this is legit, we'd be open to bringing you on board to lead the product." That hit me hard. I wasn't just getting validation, I was being valued. "Let's do a trial period," Jonah added. "Come consult for us. Paid. If it works out, we'll talk equity and full-time leadership. You deliver this, and I'll make sure you never get overlooked again." We shook hands virtually. It was on. Over the next 4 weeks, I juggled both jobs, quietly. At Nexera, I kept a low profile. Finished my tasks. Stayed invisible. At night, I built like a man possessed. Veriton gave me access to a test environment. I refined the engine, improved the model accuracy, and crafted a dashboard UI that felt 10 years ahead of anything in our market. When I demoed it internally to their execs, the reaction was exactly what I dreamed of at Nexera. Enthusiastic, respectful, and immediate. "Let's move to production," Jonah said. "We want this live in 3 months." They offered me a permanent position the next day. Twice my Nexera salary. Lead product architect. Stock options. And a team of 5. I didn't hesitate. I accepted, and started planning the most satisfying 2-week notice email I would ever write. The Monday I submitted my 2-week notice felt surreal. I didn't make a dramatic exit. No public rants, no mic drops. Just a polite email sent at 9:01 a.m. "Hi Brad. I'd like to formally resign from my position at Nexera, effective 2 weeks from today. Thank you for the opportunities. Evan." "Yup. That's me. Evan. The non-strategic guy who once begged for feedback and barely got a shrug." Brad's reply came an hour later. "Noted. Best of luck." That was it. No questions. No exit interview. No curiosity about why I was leaving, or where I was going. I wasn't surprised. He'd written me off months ago. But what did surprise me was how fast I was scrubbed from the team. Within 48 hours, I was removed from all product planning meetings. My access to staging environments vanished. My tasks were reassigned to a junior dev who'd only been around for 6 weeks. Honestly, it felt great. For the first time in years, I didn't have to fake enthusiasm for a company that didn't value me. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Veriton was preparing for war. I transitioned into my new role seamlessly. I got my team. I got my freedom. And I finally got to build the product I believed in without having to beg for approval. My team was lean but hungry. They moved fast, trusted each other, and cared deeply about doing things right. We named the final version AnySense, a not-so-subtle jab at where the idea had originally died. We launched the closed beta just 6 weeks after I joined. And the response? Explosive. Clients started emailing us. Industry blogs picked it up within a week. TechRadar called it the most intuitive predictive engine for B2B platforms we've seen in 5 years. Then came the domino effect. One of Nexera's biggest enterprise clients, a legacy firm that had been with them for over a decade, switched to Veriton. They cited lack of innovation as their reason. Then another. And another. I didn't gloat. I didn't even reach out to my old coworkers. But I did keep an eye on Nexera's press releases. Or rather, the lack of them. The company that once touted every minor update suddenly went quiet. Their social media went stale. Their job board went from, "We're growing," to, "We're hiring account managers." A sure sign of panic. And then, 3 months after Nextsense launch, I got a message. From Brad. "Hey. Just curious, was this your doing?" With a link to a product review of any sense. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I did something truly satisfying. I left him on read. 2 weeks later, I bumped into AITA, one of the engineers I used to work with, at a conference. She looked drained. "Is it true?" she asked, not even saying hello first. I raised an eyebrow. "What part? That you built that thing? The Veriton product?" I nodded slowly. "Started it at Nexera. They weren't interested." She gave a tired laugh. "Yeah. They're falling apart. Brad's been let go. Rumors are swirling. They're trying to pivot, but it's too late. Upper management is in freefall." I should have felt guilty. But I didn't. Because I didn't sabotage anyone. I didn't leak code. I didn't steal. I simply built what they refused to see, and I brought it to the people who believed in it. 6 months after I left Nexera, I was standing in a glass-walled conference room 20 stories above the city. Behind me, the skyline glittered under the early morning light. In front of me, a team of developers, marketers, and executives waited for me to begin. I wasn't nervous. I was home. "This isn't just about predictive analytics," I told them. "It's about restoring trust. Clients trust us because we're doing what others refuse to even try, anticipating needs before they're spoken, solving problems before they become problems." Applause followed. Real applause. Not the forced kind from some all-hands meeting. Not polite claps after a corporate update. This was genuine, the sound of people who believed in what we were building. That afternoon, we signed our biggest deal yet, a major international firm that had previously been a Nexera flagship client. They didn't even ask for a discount. Their CEO simply said, "This is the future. We're in." That deal? It came with a 7-figure annual contract. And a performance bonus clause, one that included me. I had to excuse myself after the call and just breathe. I thought about where I was 1 year ago, sitting in a windowless room with Brad brushing off my vision, calling it too ambitious. Now, my too ambitious idea had a full team, a market foothold, and was on track to generate 8 figures in revenue over the next fiscal year. Oh, and Brad? I heard he tried to freelance for a while. Pitched a few watered-down ideas to startups. Got passed over for a few product manager roles. Last I checked, his LinkedIn headline was, "Open to work." It wasn't revenge. I didn't ruin him. He did that himself. But it was satisfying. Especially because I never had to stoop. I didn't need to scream or burn bridges or pull a stunt. I let the work speak for itself. And the work screamed. Not long after that deal closed, Jonah, my boss now, and someone I genuinely respected, called me into his office. He handed me an envelope. "Your bonus," he said. "And your new contract." I opened it. My salary had jumped again. Stock options doubled. And at the bottom, a new title. VP of Predictive Solutions. I didn't cry. But I did sit down, for a long moment, just to take it in. I'd started with nothing more than an idea and the feeling that I was being underestimated. That somehow, somewhere, what I had to offer mattered. And I was right. Epilogue. Months later, at a tech industry panel, I was asked, "What advice would you give to someone who's stuck in a role where their ideas are ignored?" My answer was simple. Stop asking permission from people who benefit from keeping you small. If they don't see your value, go where you're undeniable. The room went quiet. Then, slowly, applause. And I smiled. Because I knew exactly what that silence meant.